Lush Caves are one of at least 6 new biomes coming in the Caves and Cliffs update next year. One source of inspiration was a Swedish painter named John Bauer, specifically one of his paintings named Oskulden's Vandring, meaning Innocent's Journey. His paintings often include a small character in very tall, lush forest. The developers at Mojang were inspired by this concept, and that led to the Lush Caves.
You feel like very tiny inside like a big garden or big forest, so like when you look up it's actually like vegetation above you, it's vegetation around you.
When they announced the biome, the video clips they played revealed a few new blocks, including many that they didn't actually verbally talk about. Let's go through all of them. First of all, let's start above ground. The easiest way to find the new biome is not to dig underground. Instead, there's a much faster way. The new Lush Caves biome will have a clear landmark above the ground, and that's the AZALEA tree, which you can see now on the screen. If you find that tree, and then follow the roots of the tree down underground, it will lead you directly into the new biome cave. So walking or flying in the overworld will be the fastest way to find this biome, not digging. The AZALEA leaves seem to have a few variants. Some with no blossoms, some with pink blossoms, and some with purple blossoms. Once you head down the roots of the AZALEA tree, you'll see a lush, bright cave filled with greenery and undergrowth. However, before we even get down there, there's already yet another new block. Beneath the AZALEA tree is a different kind of dirt. Notice how this dirt is textured a bit differently. It looks like it has tree roots inside of it. This is definitely new, and it adds some variation to the dirt texture. Once we do get into the Lush Caves, there are so many more new things. We have standard features like vines and grass, and they haven't really changed much. But almost everything else in here is new, even something about the water. More on that in a moment. One of the new plants are the glow berries. They hang from the ceiling and they produce berries that literally glow. They are a new light source, and the player can pick them and eat them. This is the first time we've had an edible light source. Maybe when the player eats them there will be some kind of side effect, like the player glowing for a while. Maybe you could take them caving with you and then you could just eat them and your whole body would glow. And similar to like in OPTIFINE how holding a light source will actually light up the area client side around you, maybe the glow berries will do the same thing. We also have all of these other new blocks that look like moss growing on the walls. The moss seems to spread to the floor as well, which introduces yet another new block. It's just so many new things here to unpack. At what looks like the height of carpet, we have mossy carpet or grass carpet perhaps on the ground. Notice how it's slightly higher in some places than the other ground around it. That's going to be an excellent way to add more texture to a natural build. We also have the azaleas. They're like mini versions of the azalea tree that we saw above ground. Notice how it only takes up one block space and there's a little mini tree trunk in there as well. But what's really interesting about this is that it's not the only variant. Notice how in the video from Mojang we can see that there's a second version of it as well. One theory that I've seen is that these small versions of the AZALEA tree are basically the sapling version of that tree, and they'll grow into the bigger version if they have the space to do so. In the water we have the DRIPLEAF plant. This is a plant that you can step on. In the initial state it looks a bit like a lily pad, but note that if you do step on one it will tip you off if you stay on there for too long. It's kind of similar to the falling platforms you might see in games like Super Mario. After tipping twice, the angle is steep enough for the player to fall off. After a little while it will actually fix itself and return to the normal flat position, so that means the DRIPLEAF plant can be used for mini games and traps that will automatically reset afterwards. It will be interesting to see what people do with this. Do you have any ideas? There also seems to be a smaller version of the DRIPLEAF plant, which is likely just for decoration and can't be stepped on. Also, what is that in the middle there? It looks like a brownish colour. It's appearing behind the glowberries there, but it's not part of the glowberry plant. So what is it? One theory that I've seen in the community is that these are roots of the AZALEA tree. They're just very, very big and they take up a whole block space, which would fit in with the AZALEA tree being found above the biome. One other amazing thing about the new biome is that it has some cool particle effects, but I'll talk about those particle effects in a moment. First, I mentioned earlier that the water is different. The main change here is that Mojang is introducing the concept of local water levels. Normally when water generates underground in 1.16 or earlier, it would either fill in the entire cave to the ceiling because it's connected to the ocean, or it would spawn as a single source block in the wall. But now we can get underground ponds. And not just that, but they can be waterfalls as well. Notice how there's a hole in the ground on this side of the pond where the water is falling down somewhere. This lush cave possibly spans multiple levels. Going back to the particle effects that I mentioned, they are said to come from a new spore blossom plant. This is a large flower that grows on the ceiling in the lush caves. It generates particles in a very wide area of effect around it. And what's awesome about this is it will be portable, probably using silk touch.
Spore blossom, and it's that you maybe saw it in the video. It's a big pink flower that you find in the roof of the lush cave, and it will drip particles from that flower, but it will also actually fill like a big volume around it with particles. So it's similar to the particles that we added to the nether biomes in the nether update, but the cool thing here is that you can move the flower if you want to and get these particles anywhere you want in your world, so you can actually be very creative with that.
The new spore blossom plant only has two states, open and closed, and the particles only appear when the flower is opened. What I suspect will happen is we can possibly pass redstone into it to turn it on and off. That would be cool, otherwise it will have to be a player interaction. But wait, are there even more plant types? We've only seen a few: glowberries, mini azalea trees, dripleaf plants, and spore blossom. I got the impression there's a lot more than just 4.
And you're adding so many new plants in the Lush Caves.
And the artwork gives that impression as well. We can see a few things that they haven't introduced yet, like the white flowers all over the place. And also this zigzaggy blocky plant that was definitely not in the footage we saw. Maybe they still plan to add those into the game? One thing I still haven't mentioned is the new mob that is exclusive to this biome. And that is the Axolotl. I have a separate video for these cute little predators. It's one of the most popular videos on my channel so far, and I'll link that at the end of the video. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But where can the Lush Caves biome actually spawn? And will it always look like the footage that we saw? No, sometimes it will look very different.
Yeah, so the really cool thing is that like the new cave shapes and sizes is completely independent from the new biomes. So that means that we have so much variation. Because for example, a lush cave can for example generate, in a super narrow tunnel, but it can also generate in like a huge cavern, and that creates completely different atmospheres, but it's still the same biome. So we're really gonna have lots of variation on the ground now.
You've been calling 2 of the different cave types spaghetti and Swiss cheese? Like that's how varied the caves could be?
Yeah. So any biome can appear in any cave type. I want to see a massive cave filled with axolotls. More information on other exciting features in 1.17 will be in future videos. If you don't want to miss out on those, subscribe to the channel. And if you missed it, you may also be interested in one of the videos on the screen right now, like the axolotl one. See you later.